You good? All right, okay. So, what up? All right, so today we are learning about introduction, thesis and claim, and staying germane to the idea. Now, in true Miss Miller style, I have to make a joke. No, germane is not one of the Jackson 5. It is an actual adjective. It does not mean staying on topic, although that is what you will be told by several people. It's kind of like the cousin of staying on topic, but before you can stay on topic, you have to have a topic. So, we're going to go through the steps to stay germane, because we all want a jerry curl and we'd all like to stay germane. Okay? So, what do you do before you write your thesis, before you write your intro? What's the first thing that you have to do? Prompt. So step 1 is understand the prompt. Now, especially like the last time, a lot of the prompts will seem like they don't present you with an option. It's on purpose. AP prompts always give you an option. There are always two sides to the argument, okay? It's your job to find the argument. So, yeah, I'm already teaching you guys better than third period. Sorry, third period. All right. So you always want to set up your prompt as a versus. Whenever you analyze the prompt, you need to set it up as a versus so you know what you're arguing for and against. So, let's go essay 1. Mencken, what versus what? Anybody?
Safety versus freedom.
Safety versus freedom. So, set up like this, you only have two options, right? Safety or freedom. It prevents you from making the safety and freedom argument, okay? 2. What was the argument available in the second essay? Sports sponsorship. So what's the versus? Pros and cons are not versus.
School ads and no school ads.
School ads or no school ads. So school ads v. no school ads. So on and so forth, infindium, infindium, infindium. If it is a question 3, which is what we're working on, argument. If it is an argument essay, you should be able to set it up as an argument, as a debate. Blank versus blank. So before you even start writing a thesis, before you start writing your intro, read the prompt and figure out what versus what. Just on your paper, line v. line, and try to fill in those blanks. So that will help you pick a side, which brings me to my next point. What's step 2? I just gave you a hint.
Pick a side.
Pick a side. Before you write an intro, before you write a thesis, before you write a claim, you have to pick a side. So, step 2. Let me make sure this is step 2. This might be step 3. Nope, I'm right. Step 2. Now, I'm going to give you a caveat, okay? Caveat is an exception. Because 1 or 2 of you is going to go, but, Ms. Miller, what if both are true? But, It's a very hard argument to make. I am never going to say impossible. I don't like to use absolutes. However, I will say this. for those of us who are basketball fans, if you've ever seen Steph Curry shoot, you would never in life actually teach someone to shoot. He has a bad angle, poor follow through, and he's actually slightly off. I feel like his feet must be off because he shoots like this and it goes straight. So reasonably, his feet must be slightly off balance. It's the only way the geometry works out. Anybody who knows anything about math, geometry, physics, and basketball is aware that he recently broke a game because they cannot compute the algorithm of his shots and shooting percentages because it's against the laws of nature and physics. Yes, he was at a 99%. They didn't know what to do with him. Like, essentially, if you played with Curry on the first beta version of 17, yeah, in the beta version of 2K17, total nerd, he was messing up the algorithm. They had to figure out a way to make it inaccurate enough so that when he shot from any place, sometimes he would miss because his accuracy and the algorithm with which he shoots is abnormal at best. He's a freak of nature. As such, you would never teach people, okay, so what you want to do is stand half court, turn your arm slightly to the side, no follow through, just kind of tap it. It'll go in. No, it won't. It won't. Not for anybody else but Steph Curry and maybe one of his kids. I'm going to tell you that about this. Is there a realm in which you can do freedom and safety? Absolutely. Is there a realm in which you can argue school ads sometimes but not others and have a clear arguable thesis? Yes. What I'm going to tell you is you're probably not the Steph Curry of 11th grade writing. Okay? No, that's a lie. One of you is, actually. I think it's you. So, in the freedom versus safety argument, there were three papers that were amazingly good. Johnson and I were both floored. They argued the both and argued it. Not said both, not summarized both points, but argued it and argued it well. The argument was not that someone wanted freedom over safety or safety over freedom. It was that they use freedom to get to their safety. But what was done that was particularly clever is they still remembered to say that Mencken was wrong, which responds to the prompt. It's just that they didn't take the opposite side of Mencken. They took this other side. Does that make sense? So I said, no, he's wrong, but it's not that he's wrong because safety's better. He's wrong because they're not separated. They're together. And this author continued to bring it back to freedom through safety, which was their thesis, which was their center argument. So can it be done? Yes. Can it be done here at Santee? Yes. Can it be done with skill? Yes. But if you don't think you're doing it, don't. Like if there are 4 people on you and you're half court, don't take this shot. Okay? That's what I will use my basketball metaphor for. If you don't think you have it, go ahead, walk it up for a layup, pick one of these, shoot the J. Okay? If you don't think you can write that well, especially yet, shoot the J, go for this. If you're already making half-court shots, you got a 4 or 5, or at least your last essay was under review, then maybe you can do the and with some class and grace. Does that make sense? Okay, moving on. Step 3. Now, we've picked a side, or we've created this magical third side that breaks the laws of physics. After you do that, what's next? You picked a side. What do you write? Kind of. So I'm going to add a step in there. You write step 3 and 4 go together. Remember, the words that come out of my mouth are far more valuable than the things I write on the board. You must do both. So you write a claim and then write a thesis. Okay? So your claim must respond directly to the prompt. your claim must have language from the prompt. Your claim must have language from the prompt. Your claim must have language from the prompt. Okay? So, if H.L. Mencken says the average man wants to be free, not safe, you should probably have in your thesis, average man, safe, free. Now, it doesn't have to be the average man wants to be free, not safe. The average man wants to be safe, not free. You could say the average man over time has shown that he would like to gain his safety through freedom. How you phrase it is your own, but the general tenets from the prompt should be there. If who? No. I know you sent him, but nah. If you check Nagel.
Okay.
That's where he hides. I don't know if he's here today. I didn't say quit there either. Okay. So this is, you need language from the prompts. Not all of it. Please don't repeat the prompts. We're not in 5th grade anymore. But there should be some language, some of the ideas from the prompt should be present in your claim. Now, when we get to thesis, there are 3 types of theses. People who read, what are they? Open, closed, and counter argument. So, open, you have one general reason. So, open thesis for, we're going to say freedom, okay? Open thesis for freedom. H.L. Mencken was correct, not I agree with, not in my opinion I agree, just he's right. H.L. Mencken was correct in his assertion that the average man would rather be free than safe because, safe than free, because on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, safety comes before freedom because it doesn't matter if you're free, if you're dead. Okay? General reason that could apply to, as we saw in the examples from the AP, that could apply to North Korea, that could apply to China, as some of your examples from your paper, that could apply to America post 9/11. That could apply to a lot of things, right? It's pretty general. So, then we have closed. This is 2 to 3 specific reasons. Okay, so thesis. H.L. Mencken is correct in his assertion that people would rather be safe than free because in North Korea they give up their freedom in order for their government to keep them safe. In many communist countries, they give up their freedom of expression to remain financially safe. And in the United States of America, after 9/11, we gave up many of our freedoms and civil liberties in order to stay safe from what the government believed were terrorists or something like that, right? I gave 3 very specific reasons, 3 roadmaps. Now, here's the issue. Positive. If you do an open thesis, you don't need to know where you're going yet, okay? You have a little freedom to play around, right? If you do a closed thesis, you know exactly where you're going. So the positive with this is freedom. The negative is you may not actually get anywhere if you don't know where you're going. So if you don't know where you're going, you want to figure it out by the end of the first paragraph. That makes sense? Whereas with the closed thesis, you know exactly where you're going. You know all 3 points that you're going to hit. The problem is, God help you if you miss one. Does that make sense? So, here you have more freedom, but you also have more freedom. There's more chance to succeed here, but there's also more chance to fail. This has a better constraint, but if you miss one, you're dead in the water. So it's about where your balance is. Counter argument, you have to do your point and the opposite point, okay? Okay? Counter argument. If you use a counter argument thesis, that means don't worry, my counter argument paragraph is dope. I already have it planned out. My counter argument paragraph is going to be my strongest paragraph. That's what you're telling the reader. Like, my counter argument paragraph, just wait. Read a couple paragraphs, I got you. Don't do this unless you have a strong counter argument. There are going to be some topics that you feel so strongly about that it's easier for you to argue against the other side than it is for you to argue for your side. You know what I mean? So, for example, immigration is a hot topic. You may not be able to argue well why we should allow people to come into the country, but you could probably argue very well why it is wrong to separate families at a border, why it is wrong to kick people out of a country that they've been in for years. Well, you could argue against policies, but you can't be like, this is what we do instead. You probably like, nah, I mean, I don't know what else we should do, but I know why this is wrong. That would be where we use counter argument. When you can't go, I mean, my side is dope. You aren't quite sure why your side is dope, but you know why the other side is wrong. Okay? That's where this comes in. So, if you notice, I use the word because a lot. That's the difference between a claim and a thesis. Because. Okay? Because is the difference between a claim and a thesis. A claim is a point you want to argue. Miss Miller's amazing. That's a claim. Miss Miller's amazing because she flips non-existent hair. That's a thesis. Okay? See the difference? All right. That brings me to this. Due to the fact, and or due to the fact that. Due to the fact that is banned in this class. Okay? Someone told some of you once that it's a good way to not use because all the time. No, it's not. Okay? Due to the fact that is legalese. That means you're speaking like a lawyer. And it's great if that's how you write. If how you write sounds like a lawyer, then that makes perfect sense. And it sounds good in your papers. The problem is, if the rest of your paper doesn't employ language like this, it doesn't sound good. Does that make sense? So imagine you're me. I use this phrase, but I also write like a lawyer because I was pre-law. So imagine this is purple, right? And your paper is like, I'm a kid, so I'm going to write in blue. Blue, 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 purple words, blue, blue, blue. That's what we hear when we read it. It doesn't match the rest of your writing. So if your style is conversational and then you throw this in it, it doesn't sound good. If your style is academic, which is how most of you are starting to write, this isn't academic writing. This is legalese. So unless you're writing all of your rhetorical analysis paper, like you're in formal debate or mock trial, this doesn't sound good in your papers because it sounds out of place. It sounds like that person that's trying to use big words, you know, person who's like, irregardless, and you're like, but ir is negative and regardless is negative, so that's a double negative, so that means you care. I'm not exactly sure what you're saying here. But you think that in your mind because you're not going to say that to an adult. That's what you sound like. You sound like someone who uses the phrase SAT test or ATM machine. Some of y'all look confused. What does the T in SAT stand for? Test. When you say SAT test, you're saying Scholastic Aptitude Test. The M in ATM machine stands for machine. It's automatic teller machine. So when someone says they're going to the ATM machine. They're going to the automatic teller machine. Right. And so that's what I hear when people say that. That's also what I hear when I see due to the fact. Now when people say that, you're going to go, You taking the ACT test too? That's why most adults just say SAT and ACT, because the T means test. Ah, yes, we learn something different every day. All right, so back to this. So that's a thesis. That's how you create your thesis. Now, I'm going to skip ahead before we move to intro and ask you a question about thesis. Where does the thesis go? Okay, so there's something that all my seniors say that you will now learn and say. Okay? So, I want you to imagine with me now. Come with me, we're going to Walmart. We're going to go to Walmart and we're going to go to the meat section. I like bacon. So I'm going to go look for bacon. Now, where would I find bacon? Anybody? Where, if you went to a store, where would you look? Lunch meat?
Freezer.
Okay, freezer. There is frozen bacon. Meat section, right? But like by the breakfast meats, not over by like the chicken legs, right? Because it's pork or whatever, right? What if you went to Walmart and you couldn't find bacon? And you said to one of the people in the blue vest, you said, hey, where's the bacon? And they said, by the tires. Would you want that bacon?
No.
Why? It's rubbery. It smells bad. It's probably rotten, right? Because it hasn't been refrigerated. Right. That's how I feel when your thesis is anywhere but at the last sentence of the first paragraph. I feel like you have picked up the bacon and put it next to the tires. Some of y'all are like, my thesis is first. Right, is that where it goes? Like, wouldn't you look at the Walmart person like they were crazy if you were like, hey, where's the bacon? They were like, over there by toys. It's up under the switch in electronics. That's a weird place to put bacon. I feel the same way when I read your paper and it's halfway through the intro. Then you have more sentences. You have taken your bacon and you have placed it next to the tires. No one wants tire bacon. It's nasty. No one wants a thesis somewhere up and around the 7th sentence of an intro and you got 12 more to go. That's weird. It's nasty. Okay? So, if you would not like to eat bacon and or eggplant, that is next to tires, because eggplant would taste nasty next to tires too, just letting you know. So, if you do not want any of your fruits, vegetables, and or pork next to tires, I do not want my thesis anywhere but in the thesis part of the paragraph. Does that make sense? So we will not be putting bacon and or eggplant next to the tires. Thank you. And now I've added a vegan option. All right, so step 5. We're now writing an intro. Intro begins with a hook. Now, who in here has ever heard of a hook? 1, 2, 3. Okay, I got enough. All right, so start naming some types of hooks. There's a question. What else? So there are 2 types of facts. There's a fun fact. That means it doesn't really matter. It's just cool to know. And then there are like hard facts. Those are, like yesterday, when I started our discussion of your extension, I started with hard facts. Those are hard facts, okay? What else? Quote. So I'm going to give you the last 3. They're anecdotes. Which is a short story. You need to be done in about 2 sentences. Anecdotes and stats. I think that's all of them. Hard facts, stats, short story, and fun fact quote. Okay. So, this one, this one, this one, and this one, you better be right. In this class, on my last 2 essays, I've gotten facts that were just wrong. Like, where did you get them? Okay? So a word about facts, statistics, and quotes. If you did not get it from a reputable journalist, that means a newspaper, or Wall Street Journal or something. The Atlantic, a magazine as well. TV news. Fox News is technically TV news. CNN, MSNBC, all of the like. They're all equal. They're all journalists. Okay? A textbook or a reference book. It's not a fact. Wikipedia does not provide you with facts. Your homeboy, cousin, uncle, even me, I do not provide you with facts. You have to verify it. I'm human. I might be wrong. Does that make sense? Okay. That's about facts and statistics. Don't make it up. Don't make it up. I had somebody making up facts and statistics once. Don't do that. That could get you kicked out of college. Don't make it up. Quotes. If you don't know who said it, don't use it. Don't say. Some guy once said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. Now, okay, maybe you can't remember exactly who it was, but get close. A president, okay? Like, a president once said. We could take a president. At least get the person's job right. But don't say, George Bush once said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. No, wrong president, okay? Wrong guy. I've seen this happen here. You have to, when you use a quote, give a human, and it should be the right human. That makes sense? Okay. Well, it doesn't have to be a human. If it comes from a literary text, it could be a centaur or something like that. That's cool. Just has to be something that's, well, because I just quoted Yoda, so he's technically not a human, so humanoid, personified, we understand. All right, so after you get a hook, that's step 5, by the way. We have to relate the hook to the topic. Oh, I can totally do this. I'm on time. Opens this door. No, he's not. So related to the topic, okay? So for example, I feel question is the worst possible option. I feel question is the worst possible option. Here's why. It's pretty 5th grade. It's like, I've run out of ideas. I mean, yes, please don't spend 13 minutes trying to find a hook. If you are 2 minutes in, pop a question in there and move on, okay? But try to think of something more creative. AP readers love anecdotes, okay? With all of your hooks, think of them as an actual hook or a boomerang, okay? You want it to go as far away from the topic as possible, but you need it to come back, okay? So, things that are not impressive. You throw a boomerang, and it doesn't come back. What did that have to do with the topic? Okay. Bye, Boomy. That's not impressive, right? Or, cut it. You throw a boomerang, and it comes back and slaps you in the face. You didn't connect it back to the topic well. You failed. That's not impressive. It's a boomerang. You throw it, you catch it with style, people clap, okay? So if you used an anecdote, for example, I'm going to use an anecdote. SpongeBob always wants the freedom of the road. In one episode, he commits fraud to get a license and has the freedom of the road. But in this same episode, he risks the safety of every living thing in Bikini Bottom. Because of this, H.L. Mencken is correct in his understanding that the average man is more concerned about his freedom than safety. Because after seeing his own destruction, SpongeBob decided to give up his license and his freedom for the safety of those around him. It is correct in asserting that average humans would also believe that their safety is far more important than freedom, because what is freedom if you are dead? Okay. That would be my intro. And yes, I did SpongeBob. Alright? That's an anecdote. It's about freedom and safety, and it's about SpongeBob. If you could go to Bikini Bottom and bring it back to Macon, AP will be impressed. But if you're just like, yeah, I like SpongeBob because it's dope and I be bopping to the song, like, no one cares. No one cares if you go to SpongeBob and you never come back. Okay? So you have to go as far away from the topic as possible, but you have to bring it back. And in the same way as someone who is teaching you how to use a boomerang would tell you, if you aren't good at a boomerang yet, because real boomerangs are actual weapons, like now they're toys. No, real Australian boomerangs, the heavy wood ones, no, they're weapons, okay? So if you're not good with a boomerang, no one teaches you, throw it really, really far. No, it comes back really hard. It could hurt you. Same thing with this. If you aren't good at it, don't go really far off topic, because if you can't bring it back, it will hurt your score. Does that make sense? So, like, you might just want to go, like, slightly off topic and come back. Don't go to Star Wars if you can't come back from it, okay? So, my last step, step 7. Step 7 is an intro. Now, the intro itself should only be about 3 to 5 sentences in an AP essay. In a typed collegiate essay, you're looking at maybe 12 sentences. But y'all got 40 minutes. Get in, get out, get on with your life. You want a hook, line, and sinker. Give them a hook, explain how the hook relates to your topic, give them a sinker, which is your thesis. That's all you need to do. This will be 1 to 2 sentences for the hook, 1 to 2 sentences for the line, and 1 sentence thesis statement for your sinker. That's it. Get them hook, line, and sinker. That is an intro. And then we have our bacon, where the bacon goes. Make sure your bacon's in your bacon section. Okay? So, with that, Miss, you still haven't explained germane. Yes, I have. This is how you stay germane to your topic. Every time you have an example, you need to look at your thesis to know what your topic was to make sure you stay germane to your topic. You need to explain to me specifically how that relates to whatever your thesis is. So, if one of the things in your thesis was North Korea, a paragraph on North Korea ain't enough. At the end of that paragraph, you need to say, freedom, safety, average man. At the end, you need to bring it back. If you were talking about China and communism, at the end of that, you still need to go freedom, safety, average man. Better example for germane. If I were to ask you, what do you want for dinner? You were to say, I had a big lunch. It's not off topic, right? We're talking about food. You're talking about food. You're still on topic. But I'm not exactly sure what it has to do with your argument. Now, if you were to say, I had a big lunch, so I don't really want dinner, now it's germane to the argument, right? You see how adding a little sentence, a small phrase, makes it germane to the argument? That's why a lot of you guys got 4s. You had great arguments, but you never told me what it has to do with your thesis. The little this proves part of apes, you kind of phoned it in. You halfway did it. You were like, this proves. What does it prove? Really? Is that what it proves? How does it prove it? You just said it out of habit, not out of actual explanation. You saw how in depth I explained how freedom and safety is related to SpongeBob? For each of your examples, you need to explain how it relates to whichever side you picked. Okay? Last thing, turn me this way a little bit. Can we see the words? All right. I've kicked a few more things out. Get it? I've kicked a few more things out. Come on. Things. So stuff and things are now out. We are done with stuff and things. You may not write stuff and things on papers anymore. Here's why. Janet, hand me that thing. Exactly. And that's how I feel when I read your paper and you say things. Because you cannot hand me a thing and you cannot hand me stuff. Stuff and things means noun that I cannot identify. Why are you talking about it in your paper if you cannot identify it? What, is my job to identify it now? I think not. Last. Everyone, everybody, all, always, never, everything. These are called absolutes. Unless you have interviewed all 7 billion people on the planet, like the person that was just born now. 2, 3, 4, 5. Now. Right. You see how that's impossible? Okay. Always and never. These two require a time machine. Because that means you can go all the way back to the beginning of time, or never, that means in the future too. Okay? Stay away from these. Several, many, most, some, a few. Those are good enough. Don't ever write all. Okay? That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I am done with you. Done with you.